Now, to get ready for racing season, which is coming up in my part of the world, that's what I call it, racing season, there are a few things that I need to do that you may need to do too, or think about. What I'm going to do is I need to take off this flywheel right here. I have a flywheel puller, but the best way to get the nut off is to have the engine in its mounts. The engine is only held on by two things. Up here, the shock mount, which is right here, one bolt, and there is another bolt down right underneath the crankcase, which runs from here to here. And you take those two things off and unplug your battery terminal thing here, and the engine will basically drop out. Well, and right, I'd like to leave the carburetor in the bike, so I pull that off and I'll have that held up. I'm also going to take off the front drive plate and the rear excuse me, the rear clutch cover, and loosen up the clutch and the front crankshaft before I take the engine out. What I'll do is I'll leave the wheel on. Now, after I take the engine out, what I will do is lay it on its side, put some fresh gas into the crankshaft well right in here, and I will shake it and shake it and shake it, and then pour the fuel out onto a clean rag and see if I have any little bits of metal or anything else in it. Another thing that it's good for is I will check where the cases come together, especially in the back right here where you can't see it that well. And what I will do is I will look for leaks. After I find any leaks or I fix them, I will clean up the case very well. That way in the future I know that the cases were completely cleaned and there should be no leaks. Now, another important thing that you need to do if you're doing a rebuild, and most people don't do it, your reed valve is right down in here. It just sits in here. It's like a, I don't know, V-shaped thing right in there. You want to take off your top reed valve intake, pull the reeds out, and take a look at them. Now, what can happen is the reeds can fray. These are custom Boyson reeds, which I made, and I need to check those, because if they aren't sealing correctly, then you're not going to get your top speed. Another thing you want to look for is, like I said, with the flywheel right here, the right crankshaft seal is right down in here. If that is leaking even a little bit of oil, what happens is the oil leaks down right here, and as the flywheel is turning, a little bit of oil gets on the magnets, which are on the flywheel right here, on the outside of the flywheel, and at high speed you will lose your spark, or your spark right here at the coil, because of the oil. So I'm going to go through and check all that. The nice thing about little Dio engines, instead of like a big V8, you can actually pick the thing up, turn it upside down, shake it, and clean it out and play with it without having to have 6 people to help you. After I get done with that, I'll put the cylinder on right here. Make sure there's no leaks. I may even put the pipe on. Drag pipe right here. Sorry for everything being a mess, but I just don't have time to clean this place up the way I'd like to clean it up. And besides, it's winter, it's cold, and every year, for some reason, I just seem to get slower and slower. It really sucks, but when you're in your 50s, that's life. If you can wake up every day and make it through the day, and if you got all your hair, which I do, and no bald spots, you're ahead of the game. So that's my plan. And the last thing I will do is I have a small radiator leak. You can see it right there, which is up underneath this front cover. And the radiator leak is due to a fitting that may be loose, or I may have to resolder one of the intake or extake tubes on it. And then it should run really good. But that's my goal, and I have to do it when it's cooler like this, so that I can get it all done, because summer's going to come, and when it comes it's going to hit real hard real fast. I'm going to go, why didn't I spend those days working on the bike? So I want to ride it. Also, for all my Dio fans, the Dio is going to have a new brother here very, very shortly. I'm going to get a 2013 Yamaha Zuma, which is in the United States. In the rest of the world, I believe it's called a B-Wiz. They only make them in 4 strokes, but it's a beautiful bike. Cost a lot of money. I don't think I will upgrade it to racing, but you never know. You never say never. Okay, that's my plan.